5 years ago, I saw my cousin slowly leaving me, and it's hard, and I saw my faith slowly losing as well. But then I saw him, when we would visit him, he was the happiest man alive, and even to his last day, he was giving all his glory to God for his family, his children, and even his health that he had. And so now he's even a bigger role model for me, because I know that no matter what I go through, I think of him, what he went through, and how positive he was, and all that he prayed for. And he, even when he was negative, he would pray for me and he would pray for others around him, even though our mountains in our lives did not even compare to what he was going through every single day, every second that he was awake.
It's good to have you here. It was this weekend, 11 months ago, that Nick taught at Elevate. I remember this because it was also the night that Megan rushed me out of Elevate, those of you that were here remember, because our son Caleb was being born. So this year, I get to hear you, unless there's any miracle happening, which we're praying is not the case. But I'm excited to hear you this year. Let's give it up for Nick Borgiel.
Thank you, Cody. So tonight I'm going to be talking about constantly pursuing God and seeking Him daily throughout our lives. So the first point is we need to consistently pursue God regardless of the situation. So this is through the good times, the bad times. And I know it's easy to say this now, just to do that. But when those bad times hit you, man, it's just hard to look to God and just consistently pursue Him and look to Him for guidance. But you just got to do it because He's the only person that's going to be able to get you through it. And He's the only way to solve our problems. And it's just a daily thing that we just need to wake up every morning and surrender our lives to Him and say, God, I need you today. I need you to guide me. I need you right now. And so third slide, where Philippians 4:6-7 says, do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. So that goes back to it. We give thanksgiving to Him in our prayers, and then we also come with requests. So I'm going to be honest, I yell at God sometimes in my prayers. I'm angry, I need Him, and if I don't have an answer, I'm yelling at Him. But I'm also giving thanks for the blessings in my life, my family, my friends, everything, work. And that's just, I know, again, it's easy to say now, but that when that hits you, it's so hard to thank God in those times, but we just got to do it, and we just got to consistently pursue Him. There's a song called Hills and Valleys, and it goes, on the mountains I will bow my life to the one who set me there. In the valley I will lift my eyes to the one who sees me there. When I'm standing on the mountaintop, didn't get here on my own. When I'm walking through the valley, I know I'm not alone. And so what he's talking about, and Abby was singing it, is that He deserves the praise. When we're on that mountaintop in life, we're succeeding, work's going well, we're killing it in school, friends are great, and everything's just going perfectly well. We got to give God the praise for that because He's the only person that made it happen. He's the reason that our life is being great. But in the valleys of our life, when just something happens, school isn't going well, we're stressed out and stuff like that, we have to look to Him. We're not alone in those. He's the only way that we're able to get out of that valley and get back on that mountaintop because He's placing us right back on top of there when we get through it. James 4:8 says, come near to God and He will come near to you. Wash your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, and you double-minded. So that's just, when you pursue God, He's welcoming you with open arms into His love. I'm telling you, when I first got baptized, I'm going to be honest, I thought life was going to get significantly easier. I thought, I got God on my side. He's the one that delivered the Israelites. He's the one that saved Paul, who persecuted thousands of Christians. Nothing is going to be able to hurt me. I'm not going to feel any pain. I was far from the truth. That's partially true, though, because He did do all those things. But life, to be honest, for me personally, got a lot harder. But the true part about that was He did do all those things. And those mountains that we have in our life, He can do it again and help us overcome it. And so for me personally, to strengthen my relationship to God and come closer to Him is through worship. Something about the music and the message that's hidden in it just really helps me and just speaks to me. And so on days I'm not feeling it, and like, I don't know, it's storming and I got to walk up to my school and I'm just drenched in water as I'm walking in the building, you better bet I'm listening to Reckless Love running up that street, because man, it makes my day. Just listening to worship going up there. That's how I get hyped up in the morning. That's how I got hyped up this morning. Just put worship music on for me. And I also podcast sermons, devotionals every morning. That's big. Just to get in the word daily, that really helps, because you just learn more from the word personally. Last year, I think I only did the plans, but I only did the first few days, and then I would just like be busy and just get stuck behind and not want to finish it. But now I'm consistently in it every day, and I just see like life improving so much better, because I go in with a new set of eyes, like knowing what God has done and all the people that came before me. And even the simplest thing that I've done, just some mornings I just wake up and I'm just so sick, and I just get on my knees with my hands up and I just give it all to God, surrender my life right there that morning, and just telling him to use me as his servant, use me within the people in my lives, and just be his servant and serve for him. My second point is, when problems arise, we need to seek God first. And again, this is really hard, and I struggled with it so much because, again, I thought life was going to get easier. I thought when those problems hit me, I was like, why go to God? You know what I mean? Like, why would he put this in my life when I'm seeking him, but yet he's like hindering me wanting to love him more? You know what I'm saying? And so Matthew 6:33 says, but seek his kingdom first and his righteousness. And I met this lady from Urban Hope last week when we were handing out groceries. She pulls up in this big pickup truck, and we gave her tons of groceries. And Chloe was with me, and I don't remember asking her story, because we just didn't get there yet. I was just helping her out, and then I was going to ask to pray for her and maybe get to her story, but she was on it right away. She beat me to it. And she went on how she was in prison, and she mentioned this verse, and just how I guess a pastor and his wife came in when she was in prison in Philadelphia, and they gave her this verse, and that just really spoke to her. And she also told me about Job, and how in the story of Job, just a quick summary, Job had a very abundant life, but the devil came in and took all of it. He lost most of his family. He was physically hurt. He was like scorched on his skin. And even his wife was discouraging him and said, you can't have your faith in God right now. Do you see all that's happening? But he kept his faith, and then God had blessed him double of what he had originally because of his faith. And that really taught me that just going through it right away, you just got to look to God. You might not be sure what's going to happen, but you got to know that there's a purpose behind everything that happens to you. And you got to know that leaving that situation, it's going to change you for the better. Last year I went through anxiety, and it hurt me every day. But then when I started turning to God every morning and giving it all to him, I know where my faith lies, and I just came back better than ever. And I don't get that as much anymore. But it was just a big thing, opened up my eyes that I just know where I need to put my trust in. And I know it's hard to say that you just need to surrender it to him, but really when it hits you, it's just really hard to just, as humans, I think we struggle with giving up what we can't control, you know what I mean? And so, James 1:2-3 says, consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. So again, like lost friendships, relationships, lost family members, I know it's really hard, but there's always a purpose behind everything that happens in your life. And for me personally, I lost my cousin a few years ago, and at this point I was new in my faith, and that also just really hit, because I thought he was like the perfect role model for me, right? He was up here for me. As a godly man, and I pursued him. He was my role model. He led me to Christ, right? And to see what he was going through, the pain with cancer, and to see him being taken away from his family slowly every day, man, that really hit me in my faith, because it just slowed me down, and I just didn't quite understand it. But then it took me a while, because then after he passed away, I knew why it happened, and I just realized like God used him and his life to change my life, to change people in my family's lives, and then many more, because he came to churches, he spoke to them, and it's just crazy because you don't see it at the time. So like when I was like 5 years ago, I saw my cousin slowly leaving me, and that just, it's hard, and I saw my faith slowly losing as well. But then I saw him, when we would visit him, he was the happiest man alive. And even to his last day, he was giving all his glory to God for his family, his children, and even his health that he had. And so now he's even a bigger role model for me, because I know that no matter what I go through, I think of him, what he went through, and how positive he was, and all that he prayed for. And he, even when he was negative, he would pray for me and he would pray for others around him, even though our mountains in our lives did not even compare to what he was going through every single day, every second that he was awake. James 1:5 says, if any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and will be given to you. So when you're going through those hard times and you don't understand it, you got to ask God for the wisdom. You can't do it on your own. You got to listen to him as well, your prayers might not be answered right away. I'm going to be honest. It takes a while. You got to be consistently praying to him. You got to be faithful, and you just got to be always looking for signs. The people in your lives, the messages that you hear, the music that comes on, just any kind of sign, even in your prayer. And so looking to yourself. So for me personally, when I was dealing with anxiety, I did look to myself. But then now looking at it, it's like, why would I look to myself? If I was believing the lies that the devil was telling me every day, that I was a failure, that I was stressed out, that I couldn't do what I was doing well, then I really can't find the solution myself, because I already dug that hole for me. Looking to the world, we're not of the world, and most likely the world had caused the problems of stress, anxiety, lost relationships, lost friendships, and stuff like that. So why would we look to the world for solutions? And then looking to your friends and family, that does work, because I know I surround myself with the right people, and I know I have the family that if I go to them, I know I can have an honest conversation and they'll lead me to God. I've had times where I've talked to Joe and we're just talking, and I'll say I need prayer, and he's called me within a minute and just prayed for me right then and there. Or just no matter where we're at, it could be at the mall or something, and he'd pray for me right then and there. And it's just the kind of friends that we got to surround yourself with. And those are the outlets that you got to look at for God's answers, because I know that even if they don't know what I'm going through, God will use them for what they say to me in order to relay a message to me. And that's what Craig was saying earlier about coincidences. That it's no coincidence. God is using that as a purpose. And he was talking about James being a thing. When I was doing my lesson this week and looking at verses that applied, it was all James. It's just crazy how God works and how he works in our minds and interconnects it. Stephen Furtick, who's a pastor, he talks about pivotal decisions, and so a pivot in basketball, it's when you can't dribble anymore, and so you can only move with one leg, so like that, so you can't dribble anymore, but you got the ball like this, and you do it in order to open yourself up and make a basket, right? And so he says that God sets us in a different direction to say we are not looking at the right side of a situation, and so a pivotal decision from facing something I don't know. So we're right here and we're looking at a situation, right? And we don't know what we're doing, but we make that pivotal decision to listen to God, and he turns us like this, and we clearly see what his purpose behind it is, the reason behind it, and what we'll get out of it. And so we are able to see his work and the purpose behind it, and the reason that he's having us go through this in our life, and what we'll get out of it. And again, I know it's really hard, and especially as humans, when we get hit by something, it's really hard to look to God first, because we think, why would he be doing this to us? He's supposed to be giving us blessings constantly, and he does. But it is really hard that when we get hit by stress, anxiety, relationships aren't working out, anything that happens in the world, any pain that we feel, and we get injured or something, it's hard to believe that, or to look to God for answers, because we think that he caused it. But really, he's using that experience to make us even better than when we came into it. I know that is really hard, but it's just what we got to do, and it's what I learned. And I'm telling you, it's so much easier when a situation arises to look to God right away, because in that mountain that you're building up yourself in your mind, becomes so much smaller when you give it to God and you pray about it, and it makes it so much smaller, and he's going to overcome it time and time again. It's never going to fail. So please pray with me. God, I thank you for tonight, Lord. I thank you for the words that you've given me to speak. I just pray that through situations in our life, we're able to look to you. I pray that we're able to consistently look to you daily and always be in the word and look to you. God, I just pray for everyone here tonight. I thank you for everyone coming. Pray that everyone got something out of this message, Lord, and I just pray that for this week with blessings. And I pray that you work in our lives. In your name I pray. Amen.